Can you hear? I can't hear you.
I can't hear you either. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Ken?
I can hear you. Now we've
Okay.
lost Nick. What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
What's up, everybody?
Hey, all right. So I'm having an issue with my internet. So give me just a sec. It's coming
No
back.
problem, buddy.
While
Take
we're
your
doing
time,
that, while
bud.
we're
What's
waiting
up?
for our main man over here, how's everybody's weekends been? Mine, I went camping. I was down at Yogi Bear Campground in Indiana. That was cool. Tigers got their asses kicked a couple games. Didn't like that as much. What about you, Justin? What's been going on with you, my friend?
It's been a great weekend. Spent time with some friends. I, of course, saw Candyman, and had a great weekend. I'm so happy to get to chat with you guys tonight. Always look forward to it.
I'm very, very excited.
All right.
There he is.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I'm seeing some great
All right,
comments.
guys. So, hey, what's
Joe, Pat, Justin,
to everybody that's in here right now, I want to thank you guys for being here. As you might be able to tell, if you can't tell yet, you will be able to tell as the stream goes on. I have like no voice. I had my bachelor party weekend. That's what I did this weekend. A lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of craziness. So I'm recuperating. Just got home from seeing Candyman. I walked in the door at 8:40.
Real quick, before we start, Sarah, I got something for you. I just wanted to give that to you, Sarah. She just wrote "Go Blue Jays," so I had to give her a little something.
But as you guys know, we are here tonight to talk about Candyman.
Yes.
This is going to be about an hour. The first half hour for everybody in the chat right now will be spoiler free. We will not spoil anything in the first half hour. Before we get into spoilers, we will warn you that spoilers are coming, but not yet. So relax. No spoilers yet. Chill. Let's talk about it. First of all, everybody that's in here, if you could leave a like on the stream, we'd really appreciate it. And without further ado, we're going to get into Candyman. As we all know, I don't really need to set much up for you guys. Candyman is a sequel to the 1992, arguably one of, if not the greatest 90s horror film. And long-awaited sequel. A lot was called a spiritual sequel for a while, and then we realized if you once you go and watch it, you're like, it's definitely a straight-up sequel. It stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Teyana Paris, and yes, Tony Todd. And we'll get into that. I know we'll get into that, but first and foremost, I want to go around. I'll give my thoughts really quick. We'll go to Justin. We'll go to Ken. We'll go clockwise here. For me, I walked into Candyman. I honestly was expecting to love it. I love the first film. I really I loved the last trailer we got, and I was liking the stuff I was seeing, and so. You know, I was looking forward to it. I went and saw it. I walked out. I loved it. I loved it. I really did. I agree with what a lot of people say. The third act is very abrupt. I mean, very abrupt. You're in the middle of like learning some things, and it's just like, okay, craziness. The craziness is enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, but it seemed like some stuff wasn't fleshed out entirely yet. I thought the acting was pretty much stupendous across the board. There were a couple twists in there that I didn't see coming. And the gore, the Carnage candy was awesome. I loved the Carnage candy. Overall for me, I think Candyman 2021 is I think it's like a 4.5 out of 5, honestly, after first watch. Now I will say this is a movie that I walked out of. I still had a lot of questions. This is a movie I'm going to have to digest. This is a movie that I'm really going to have to sit on and watch a couple more times because I promise you, this is deeper than you may think. It really, really is. But Justin, your first reaction thoughts to Candyman?
So, like you, I walked into the movie wanting to love it. Loved the trailer, of course. Loved everything. It was my most anticipated horror movie of the year, and I walked out loving it. I love the movie. Um, it's not a perfect movie. It's got flaws. I'll talk about the flaws real quick. I think, like you said, and then like many people have said, the ending was rushed. I think the movie needed an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes to kind of wrap things up because you got a great first and second act. And overall, I was impressed with the third act, but it was just rushed, like just rushed. So I would have expanded the hour a little bit, 10 or 15 minutes. I had some issues with the story. It's just as far as like plot holes. I felt like they could have developed characters a little bit better or added some stuff in that third act to make it, to explain things better. And I don't want to give too much away right now, but those are my only issues. Things I loved about it. I loved the cast. The lead actress in the movie, I can't remember her name right off, but she was, in my opinion, the standout. I loved her in it. The lead actor that we had, loved him in it. Loved the whole cast. I thought they did a great job there. The big thing for me, I thought Nia DaCosta did such a fantastic job directing wise.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Right when beautiful. The opening sequence, from the opening sequence to the very end of the film, she is so talented, and I cannot wait to see what she does in the future. I know she's doing the upcoming Marvel movie, so I'm looking forward to seeing that because she is a talent. I cannot wait to see more of her. Not a scary movie, but definitely had some eerie moments. I love Candyman. This is a Candyman sequel that I wanted.
Yeah, and I will say, just want to answer a question real quick, Ken. Bobby asked in the chat. By the way, hello everyone in the chat.
Yeah, if you want to answer chats, feel free to interrupt because I love the interaction.
Bobby just wanted to know about the cinematography. I think a lot of people, even that if they weren't a huge fan of this movie, it looks beautiful. I mean, it is shot very well. I mean, from the opening credits sequence of a very foggy, misty Chicago, I loved it. But I love the cinematography. I don't know about you guys, but I just wanted to answer your question, Bobby.
Loved it.
But Ken,
I am here to shit on this movie because I'm going to give it 1.5 out of 5. And here's why. Since this first half hour is non-spoiler, I'm going to say the best way I could put this, the ending was awful. I hate when a TV show wants to leave you on a cliffhanger for the next episode that I got to wait a week for. That's cool. But when a movie tries to end on a sequel like a cliffhanger for a sequel, I'm not as big of a fan, especially when you don't know that it's been there. We don't know if they signed on for a sequel. I think the ending was awful. And I've already been called a racist because I don't like this film. And that's something that people that know my integrity know that I don't care, know that I'm not a racist. I love when a movie, I'm not going to say this movie was woke, and that's why I didn't like it. But I want a horror movie first and then a message. We've talked about this. Candyman 92, Tales from the Hood, People Under the Stairs, Night of the Living Dead. Great horror movies that had a message to go with them. This one was very heavy-handed on the message, and so heavy-handed that it was, in fact, a lot of real-life things that the big problem I have is when you're using real life, real tragedy in a film, I'm not a fan. When Tales from the Hood used the story of Emmett Till, I thought that was despicable. And again, non-spoiler, but a lot of the stuff that are directly and indirectly related to Breonna Taylor and the unfortunate disaster that happened to that young lady really turned me off. I don't mind if you want to have a message, but that young lady died a terrible death that didn't need to happen. We don't need to, put that into our fiction. If you want to use, the unfortunate death of so many African Americans, it's heartbreaking to have such a recent one that's still got an open wound. I felt like it was pandering almost. And here's what scared me about Candyman. Helen, be my victim. And we didn't have anything like that in this film. We didn't have those moments that literally shook me to my core, where I was just like, where I felt it in my whole body. You didn't have those moments. You had one that I thought was decent, but we already knew it was coming, and we'll talk about that when we get to the spoiler part of it. The acting was beautiful. The cinematography was great. I just think the story fell flat. I feel like it was rushed, which it shouldn't have been because it's been delayed for 2 fucking years. If they wanted to go back and do some reshoots, they could have. And I just didn't like the twist that happened in the third act. I thought you didn't have to create another unnecessary villain. So those are my opinions.
And I understand. Yeah, I understand that. And I wanted to say really quick to someone in the chat about all of these Candyman, like multiple Candyman. I will get into that in the spoiler review, but that's not the case. That's not the case. That's misdirection by the filmmakers. When you watch the movie, you may think that. Once you get certain lines of dialogue in the end, you understand what it all was. There's a scene that I thought was beautifully shot. I can't wait to talk about it in the spoiler review. But go ahead, Justin.
I forgot to give my rating, and I apologize for interrupting you, Nick. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4. Like, I forgot to give my rating. It's a 3 out of 4 for me.
And I agree, Brooke, and I'm excited to get some of the special features. I'm looking forward to the Blu-ray because I want to know some of the behind the scenes on that. But I think, to Ken's point really quick about the cliffhanger, it was clear to me that Universal sees this as a potential to kickstart this franchise again. I don't think they saw this as a one-off.
And that's what I was going to say. Another thing I wanted to add, I may, just like with Halloween 2018, I may end up liking this a lot more once I see the sequel and I see where this leads up to. But as a standalone film, as of right now, it's just ranked very low because I'm Triple Feature says I'm racist and misogynistic. Those are my secrets. But my thing is, like, as a standalone, if they would have already announced, like they did with Halloween, that it was going to be a trilogy or it was going to be, starting of a new franchise, I'd be totally down. Nia DaCosta is amazing. I can't wait for her sequel to Captain Marvel. But just the way that it ended really, really left me wanting so much more, and I don't like that feeling when I'm leaving a movie. If I'm, Stranger Things, that's one thing. The Walking Dead. If you want to leave me on a cliffhanger with those where I got to wait a couple weeks at most, that's fine. This I got to wait another 3 years to figure it. I don't. That really bums me. I don't even know if I'm gonna be alive in 3 years.
Here's the thing about it. Here's the thing about, for me and the ending. I never saw it as a cliffhanger ending. I know they're going to do a sequel. That's just me. I never saw it as a cliffhanger ending.
I hope they do. I hope they do a sequel to this. I love Teyonah Parris. I would love to see her come back in a sequel. I thought she did a fantastic job.
Yeah. But for me, I never saw it as a cliffhanger ending. I said and I'm not going to give anything away until the spoilers, but I was like, wow. Like, I thought they ended it.
No,
it wasn't a strong ending. Like, I wish it was stronger. Again, I felt like the third act was rushed, but I was satisfied with it. And I'm on an
island. I'm on an island here because I thought the ending, the very ending, the last shot you get was some of the most effective things in the film. And there's a reason for why that is. I enjoyed it. That was iconic. That line was iconic.
I enjoyed the ending. Don't get me wrong. Like, I thought it was a great ending. I just felt like it didn't have a huge impact on me. Great ending. Mm-hmm. Loved what we saw. Just, if the third act would have been spread out a little bit more, if we got a little bit more to it, maybe I would have said, fully, a full wow factor.
I want to address, sorry, finish. You're okay.
My buddy Pat mentioned the bathroom scene, the one that we saw in the trailer. That was another one of my problems. I thought the scene was great, but you could tell when something in this movie had a kind of reshot ending, or they had an ending that they put into the movie, because it went from a different vibe to this kind of out of nowhere scene, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. And I want to say, I see a lot of people saying something in the chat that I want to address, saying the movie had no tension, no suspense. There was never a scene that had you I disagree. There wasn't a lot of it. I totally agree. But I think a lot of the suspense in this movie and the chills of this movie are supposed to be with Anthony and his descent, essentially, into what happens to him. And I think that was done really well. But I also think the scene in the art gallery, and you know which one I'm talking about, I thought there was some genuine suspense in there. I don't think there was a lot in many other parts of the film, but I think that scene in the art gallery, I was like, especially because they were playing with you, like, is this a reflection? Is this abstract? Like, I thought I was like, okay, that's pretty good. I really did enjoy that.
That was one of my favorite scenes. Real quick, I want to go back to that bathroom scene. That was the only scene in this film where I thought the practical effects looked like shit. A lot of the rest of this film, the practical effects were awesome, especially the one window shot that we get where it's zooming out.
Yeah.
I thought that looked great, but the blood in the bathroom looked so bad. Like, it looked so fake the way that in the sink area, how it was like down and then it stopped and then it didn't look good for me. And now, don't get me wrong, I'd rather a shitty practical effect than a shitty CGI effect, but I just thought that they could have made that scene look a little bit better.
And Jay, you're absolutely right in the chat. Yeah, Lee McCoy from Drum Dums really got crapped on for his spoiler review, because
Why?
Anytime you talk about movies like this that have social commentary, there's always going to be people that are going to come at you. And being a bigger channel like himself, of course, that's where it happened.
That's fucking bullshit, man.
I know.
Like, look, he shouldn't have to defend himself. Because you dislike a fucking movie does not mean that you dislike a race of people. Like, we've gotten to the point where that's the case, and it's
Lee loved the movie. Lee loved the movie.
Yeah.
He loved the
like
movie.
this guy, this whoever you just said, the
Drum
fact
Dums,
that he disliked this movie, people want to say that
he loved it.
He loved it.
He loved it.
What?
It was some of his terminology. He said, I believe he said urban, and he got a lot of hate for saying urban. I know. I get it. I don't agree with it. I know who Lee is as a person. That's just no.
He shouldn't get hate for it. He's a very, very nice guy. And you know what? Instead of, and I'm not going to go on a rant, but instead of criticizing him and, leaving him this hate, why don't you talk to him and say, look, this is the terminology you use. If you want to do anything and if you want to talk to him about anything, do that. Don't hate on him.
Right.
People are the nicest people we have. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just if you want to like have a conversation with somebody, have a conversation without being hateful. Right. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I wanna get the wheels back on the track a little bit, and I want to ask you guys, if after by the way, what did you guys think of the score?
Oh, the score was great.
I loved it.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
The score was great. You talked about the art gallery scene, and I got to give some love to them for naming a character Clive. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh yeah,
that was really fucking cool. Because I had somebody tell me, they're like, I think it's bullshit that people still idolize the original Candyman when it was written by a bunch of white people, and it's like, dude, they wrote the story to try to help bring light into something.
Right.
Like, you're the one making it about race, man. When you're talking about how it's written by white people, who gives a shit? They wrote a movie to try to shine light on something in a pre-social media era that was really an issue. And they were ahead of the curve, and they were trying to warn people, this is what it's really like out here, in the hood, in the ghetto. And for them to, give him the honor of creating a character, naming him after Clive, was beautiful. That's one thing about this movie I thought was really great.
Yeah.
Talk about the music. I don't know if it's the same guy who did the Get Out music and Us, but the music's fantastic in this. Right when the movie opens, you can hear a little bit of that original music, but modernized, and like there's a twist on it. Absolutely.
I loved the rendition of Helen's theme. It sounded very haunting. And you get it when they're telling a story, and then you get it for the end credits. And I stayed for a little bit in the end credits because I just had to hear that piano. And I don't know what it is about that rendition. It sounds more empty. It almost sounds like it's in an echo chamber. It's very haunting. And I really enjoyed that. Bobby, the bees were CGI. They were absolutely CGI. But I will say, you can tell they're CGI, but they don't look garbage. It's not like, oh, that's awful. Like, no, it's CGI, but it doesn't look bad.
I didn't even realize there was a Clive Barker book in the laundromat. That's fucking cool. Like,
oh wow,
that's really cool.
I didn't either until afterwards.
Yeah. So we all agree we like the sound design, we like the score, we liked the directing. I think we all agreed we like the acting too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
10:31, real quick. I don't know if he saw the beginning of it. This is only going to be an hour. So right, Nick, it's only going to be an hour. I think he's saying he's going to watch. It's
No,
only
he's,
going to
he's making a 2-hour super cut of Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. Awesome, brother. And then that's a good question, Wes. So we got a few more minutes in the non-spoiler section. Don't worry, guys. Still no spoilers. How did you guys like the shadow puppets? I liked him. I thought it was a really nice touch.
Loved it. I mean, that was great.
In my notes, that's one of the things I wanted to touch on. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't like a lot of what the story was and a lot of where the direction went in the film, but there's a lot of positives in this movie that we can talk about. I try very, very hard to find every positive, even in a movie I hate besides The Exorcist 2. But with this movie, there were easily some positives that I could talk about all day.
And I want to address one more thing, really, well, maybe two more, but one that someone was talking about in the chat earlier when I said I liked the carnage candy in the movie. And a lot of people were like, well, a lot of the kills were off screen. Yes and no. You knew they were happening. You saw bits and pieces of it, but I meant in the sense of the blood and the aftermath was awesome. I really think there was a lot of just gory aftermath that I thought was really good. I mean, the practical scene you're talking about up against the window, that was awesome. The first kill in the art gallery was
best
awesome.
one in the movie. Best one in the movie.
Like, I think we should definitely kind of step back a little bit and not criticize too much. There was some left to the imagination, but we don't criticize movies like Halloween for doing that. So there was some left to the imagination, but you did get some really interesting ones. So I
thought this one showed more kills than, and I could be wrong, and if I get hate, I get hate. I thought this showed more kills than Halloween 2018 did. I thought the only real kill that we saw some kills in Halloween 2018, but a lot of them, a good portion of what would have been great kills, were shown off screen.
Mm-hmm.
One of my negatives with this, not really a negative with the movie, but with the trailers, I feel like a lot of the great kills that were in this movie were shown in the trailer. Yes, there was a little more to it, but I think what happens is, at least for me, is while they were suspenseful and eerie, it also lacks suspense because you showed like some major kills already in the trailer.
Yeah, and I agree.
I think the scariest scene from the whole movie was ruined by the trailer, and that's the elevator scene. We'll get into that when we get into the spoilers.
Oh, Ali, no.
I thought that was actually the scariest part of the whole film when it comes to like the genuine fear that gets instilled. I think that the elevator scene is the most genuine, scary part of the whole movie, and it was ruined because we've seen most of it in the trailer. So in my opinion, that to me was the scariest part, besides one other part that we'll talk about when we get into the spoilers.
I think I know what you're talking about too, Ken, because I got chills, like major chills when there's a moment I'll talk about it. It gave me chills.
I want to say really quick, thank you for stopping in. I also loved the movie. Justin did too. Ken's the grumpy guy here tonight.
Get off my lawn.
And Ali
is a good friend of mine. He's good people, man. I'm so glad that he's here. Thank you for joining us, Art. You know I love you, and I'm glad you're here, buddy.
And then Ali says Candyman 2 gives this one a run for its money. I'm going to strongly disagree. Strongly.
Yeah, I agree with Nick.
This one is nowhere near Farewell to the Flesh.
Okay, he was kidding. All right, he was kidding. I was going to say Farewell to the Flesh is watchable, but this is a way better made movie. Way acted, shot, score, all of it. It's way,
Yeah, all right.
But one last thing, spoiler free, that we're going to talk about before we get, knees deep in the spoilers. Overall, do you think the film set itself up well to be continued? Do you think it deserves a continuation?
I think that it absolutely has to have a continuation, if, in my opinion, to make this film reasonably good. They're going to have to make a continuation that feeds off the ending of this film. If this is a one-off film, I think it was a huge swing and a miss. Huge swing and a miss if this is a one-off. They can save it if they could give me a terrifying sequel. If you could terrify me with a sequel, and don't tell me movies aren't scary nowadays. That's bullshit. Hereditary was terrifying.
Malignant
Dark
looks
Wicked was
Malignant
absolutely
looks scary
terrifying.
as hell. I think Malignant looks
Malignant
freaky.
looks terrifying. So
Mhm.
don't tell me you can't make a scary slasher movie now. That's not true. You can. So
Have
you
you seen
give me a terrifying sequel, and I think that we'll get into the spoilers here in a second, Rudy. I can't say it yet, but I will say that if you can give me a sequel that's terrifying, this one could actually gain a couple points to me, as if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
First, I want to throw something out real quick. Have you guys seen The Dark and the Wicked? Because if you've not seen that yet, that is for me, it's the most terrifying movie I've seen in a long time. It beat Hereditary in my opinion. So
The Dark and the Wicked scared me, and
I
I watched it at 3:00 in the afternoon.
oh gosh,
3:00 in the afternoon, I watched The Dark and the Wicked, and I was looking out my windows for a floating mother. That's all I'm gonna say.
I had Christmas lights on, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
What do you think, Justin? Does it deserve a sequel?
I really think so. And I think we will get it. You know, I don't know what the box office is right now, but I tell you what,
22.7, 22.3 million opening weekend.
The box office.
I don't. You what?
It owned the box office.
Yes, I was
in
gonna
the box office.
My theater was packed, and I was like, "This is the most packed it's been since I've been to the theater since the pandemic." I think it deserves a sequel, and I hope we get Nia DaCosta come back. I think she's a fantastic upcoming director. She's directed already, but she just proves how talented she is with this movie. So I hope we get one.
I agree. And for everybody that's watching, all you normies, we're getting into spoilers right here, right now. This is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen the film and you don't care about spoilers, stick around. If you've seen it and you want to talk spoilers, now's the time. If you don't want spoilers, see ya, because here we go. Tony Todd's reveal at the end. Okay. Let's just talk about it really quick. I want to answer your question, Wes. That was Tony Todd's face. It was de-aged, but it was his face. He was physically there. That was not all CGI. They de-aged him, but it was physically him. But there was de-aging technology in there, similar to what they're doing with Alfred Molina and Spider-Man No Way Home. It's physically him, but they're going to digitally de-age parts of his face to make it, look like that. But Tony Todd at the end, let's just talk about it. That line, I loved it because that at what the story set up when he said, "Tell everyone," it's him saying, "I'm back. I've finished. I have accomplished what I needed to do to come back full force. I'm back." But I'm going to start with Ken because I know he's got a lot to say about the ending. So Ken, get into it.
Okay. Now, when I talked to you guys earlier about the Breonna Taylor thing, look, I get you say his name in the mirror 5 times. I understand that. I respect that. But say her name was a movement, not a quote. Say his name. I felt like with having a character named Breonna, I felt like that was pandering. I really did. And I didn't like it because, like I said, that was a real thing that happened. And it was a real unfortunate thing that happened to a real beautiful young lady. So to say his name was something that really turned me off. But when it comes to that ending, that is like, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Okay, that's like I've been starving for a month and a half, and you bring me out my appetizer, which is some cheese sticks, and they're good. I like the cheese sticks. And then you bring me out my steak, and you set the steak down on the table, and then you flip that shit and say, "Too bad, you can't have it." I was so hungry for that steak, and then you just took it away from me the minute that I seen it, and it broke my heart. I wanted that steak. That steak was delicious. That steak was the best part of my dinner. So I went out to dinner to get the steak, and the steak was only there for 2 seconds, and then you threw it off the table. That's what, Tony Todd to me is what made Candyman terrifying. His voice, his movements, his action, his presence in general is what made the original Candyman absolutely stick in my chest. And, the bees coming off him, the bees coming out of his mouth, the way that he talks, everything about that was Tony Todd for me. And to only have him in for such a short time. Now, I'll give it to you. That's why I'm saying they need a sequel, because he's saying, I'm back. You can't say I'm back and then just end it with the best part. So to me, that's why I was absolutely devastated with the ending of this movie. I needed more Tony Todd. And the other guy that was the other Candyman, don't get me wrong, he was fantastic. His smile and everything about him was great. I thought he was phenomenal. But it's just like having someone else play Freddy. Sorry, guy, you're not him. No matter how good you are, you're not him. And that was the big thing for me. That was my biggest takeaway, and that's what I didn't like the most about the ending of this film.
Justin, what about you?
I overall love the ending. It was rushed. I wanted more from it. Seeing Tony Todd was great. And to be quite honest, like for me, I kind of knew going into this movie, I knew when they said spiritual sequel that this wasn't gonna have Tony Todd throughout the entire film. I know we'll get into it a little bit more, but I liked where they went with kind of the idea of a Candyman. I thought it was great. And seeing Tony Todd at the end, yeah, there I wish we could have probably seen maybe glimpses a little bit more from him, but I was satisfied with it. I thought they did a great job. Like you said, they did the de-aging. That was great. And you know what? At the end of the movie, guess who we got to see? We got to see the man Tony Todd, and I was happy. So at least we got to see him.
I will say this to that point, and I don't want to be too controversial, but I think that statement for a lot of us is because we're spoiled. We love Candyman. Candyman is Tony Todd. When you make a movie called Candyman, we want Tony Todd. But in defense of the filmmakers of this film, they said throughout the process, one, they never officially announced him. Not once. He was never officially announced. Tony let it slip in interviews, and there was reporting on it and blah, blah, blah. But they never said Tony Todd's back and he's Candyman. On top of that, they said many times, spiritual sequel. This thing, yes, it has the DNA, but we're carving our own path away as well. Now, I think that wasn't true, because the way you end the film says, we're not actually carving that much of an original path. We're back to Tony Todd. We're back to Daniel Robitaille. But I think that they set us up to they did everything right to say, don't expect Tony Todd to be slashing people for an hour and a half, because it's not going to happen. And we got spoiled. And because that's what we do as horror fans. And, it sucks. It does, because it's Candyman and Tony Todd is Candyman. But at the same time, I don't feel like I was misled. I really don't feel like I was misled. I wanted more, but I felt like they were honest with us. And so that's my take on that.
No, I agree with you. And you know what? Tony Todd is a legend, and I love him. But I wasn't like, I thought it was a unique idea to have an idea of having different Candymans, because these are people who, like, Tony Todd's character, is it Daniel Robitaille?
Yeah.
Having, him having all these characters, all these people who were, murdered, accused of things, come back as these spirits is a great idea. We got it with Helen at the end of the original, and a lot of people's complaints about the later Candyman sequels, not everybody's complaints, but I've heard some people say, it made no sense to bring Tony Todd back in a way with how the original film ended. So I don't know. I love me some Tony Todd. I think he's fantastic. I think he's scary in that first movie. But I had no problems with this idea. I, again, knew kind of going into this that this was not going to be a Tony Todd movie. So.
Here's a big plot hole for me that I don't enjoy. They completely ruined the fact that Helen could have been Candyman by saying that Candymen were black men that were killed by white men and from being falsely accused, and that's what brings them up front. So that totally ruins the Helen part. But also, they talk about how they come back to get justice for the, for the racial things that happen, but they also kill black people. So to me, I don't like the idea of saying that they're only coming back to get revenge and to, but then also having them kill other blacks. That didn't make a lot of sense to me either. So there was a lot of those type of plot holes that I didn't like. Again, I'm with you guys where I don't mind the idea of multiple Candymen. That doesn't bother me. One of my favorite franchises of all time, as you guys know, had Cult of Chucky, and I thought that was fucking brilliant. I loved it. But a lot of the story is revolved around white people killing black men, and then black men coming back and getting revenge on the white men. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that storytelling. But don't exclude Helen as being a possible candidate of a Candyman.
I will say, well, to your point, I will say that I do agree that not touching on the Helen, post-mortem, I guess, was a mistake. I would have liked to see that. But this is how I interpreted it. And maybe the filmmaker will be clearer on this now that the movie is out. I don't think there was multiple Candyman. I think Candyman was and always is Daniel Robitaille. I think that you saw other manifestations of Candyman because you saw it as what you knew the story was. But that spirit, that entity is Daniel Robitaille. It started as Daniel Robitaille. So if you see Sherman Fields, why is Anthony seeing Sherman Fields? Because he was told by Burke that his Candyman was Sherman Fields. But it wasn't, because then at the end, Burke says, essentially, no, it's Daniel Robitaille. Daniel Robitaille has basically been biding his time to come back, to finish his business. He waited for you. The only reason people saw other Candymen was because it was their idea of what Candyman was. That was their Candyman. But that spirit that was killing people, no matter what you saw personally as your Candyman, that was Daniel Robitaille's spirit. It was all a manifestation of Daniel Robitaille. That's how I took it, at least. And I'd love to hear the director expand upon that. But that's how I took that it was always just one Candyman. And they just saw what they believed generationally was Candyman. It was Sherman Fields. It was, yada, yada. But it has always been Daniel Robitaille. That's how I took that.
I mean, what you're saying does make sense, because at the end of the film, you see kind of the bees swarming around the face, and you see all the different people that have been, the Candyman. I'm just going to say that, the Candyman. And by the end of it, you see the bees transform into Tony Todd's Candyman. So I could see that. I mean, I agree.
What did you think, both of you guys, what did you think of the scene walking around the cop car and seeing different reflections of the African-American men over the years wrongly accused of certain things, or, whatever it may be, just every single one of them that was a part of this story leading up to the then full reveal of Daniel Robitaille being the manifestation of them all. What did you think of that? I thought that scene was awesome, walking around the car with Anthony giving that dialogue, like, I am the writing on the wall. Like, I loved that.
I did love it. And I've never wanted to see anybody die in a film more than I did that lead cop. In my entire 35 years of watching film, I've never wanted someone to die as much as I wanted that man to die right there. Because it's disgusting to know that type of thing really happens. You can have naive people out there saying it doesn't. It does. Listen, guys, I am not anti-cop. My brother's a police officer. I mean that. I swear on everything. But those things happen, just like everything. There's bad and there's good in everything. And to see that was just absolutely disgusting. And I've never wanted someone to die as bad as I did then. And to know that it was going to happen made me so excited. And like you said, to watch, and just like, did you guys stay for the post credits?
Yes.
Seeing like all the art they were putting in there was just beautiful. All the different art they were doing, that was great. And to see Daniel Robitaille finally come out at the very end was awesome. But to know that they got what they deserved, You know, the bad
Mhm.
apples got what they deserved. Was awesome. And to see her face when she's looking in that mirror saying, can I see myself in the mirror? You know, and you know what she's going to do. And you're just like, get it, girl. Fuck, get it. You know, and as
Yeah.
she's saying it, you're saying it with her. You know, she's like, Candyman. And you're like, Candyman, 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 Candyman. Come on, say it faster. Let's get this motherfucker out of here. We got to kill him. You know, so I genuinely enjoyed that scene. And like I said, there's many scenes I did enjoy, but that was one that I was so happy. I could have vocally cheered to watch that officer die by the way he was talking to her in that car. I could have vocally got up and been like, yes, because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
One of the nobody in the history of film has deserved to die more than him.
Yeah. What about you, Justin?
I loved it. I love the reflections of all these different people who were killed and wrongfully accused, and how it's, you know, you see their different faces, you see the bees around them. Sarah mentioned she saw a kid as a Candyman, and yeah, and I think it's a real life case in the 40s of a 14-year-old boy who was wrongfully accused of something, and he was given the electric chair, which is really sad, like really, really sad and heartbreaking. But yeah, you saw him. There was a kid who was a Candyman. And by the way, anybody who's wrongfully accused, it's heartbreaking. But to see like a 14-year-old, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm tearing up a little bit because I hate that. Anyway, I loved the ending. I loved how that all played out with the reflection of the window and her saying the name Candyman 5 times in the mirror. And like Ken said, that guy deserved what he deserved.
Yeah, I'm just like Ken. I'm sitting there and I'm going, say it faster, say it faster, say it faster. I loved that. I loved that it was like that aha moment where she said, there's no way all of this shit can be happening. And Anthony wasn't telling some kind of truth. So she said, screw it. Let's summon Candyman.
Real quick, can we talk about how Brianna's brother was absolutely the best character in the whole movie?
I loved him. Yeah.
I was glad he didn't die. You know,
me too. I was the whole time. I was like, please don't kill him because he's fucking great.
Yeah.
We're getting her stuff and we're leaving.
Yeah.
That guy was. He to me was the highlight of the film. He was fucking awesome.
Can I also point out that I love the fact that we had LGBTQ representation in this, and it was done well. Absolutely.
It was done very respectfully because even like he only shows his ass like that to people he likes. You know, like they had the comedic parts of it, but it was done respectfully. They didn't have. They weren't just that token gay couple. They were a couple that loved each other. That's all it was, and they were funny. They were intelligent, and the whole movie wouldn't have happened without them. Started him, Anthony, down the Candyman road.
Yeah, and one, I love the fact that they did not kill the brother, and two, I love the fact that they did not kill the gay couple in the movie. It's like, you know, that's rare when you see, you know, an LGBTQ character survive a movie. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
There are 3 more topics I want to touch on with this, guys. And then I want to let you all know something at the end of the stream. Yeah. So you know going forward. But 3 more topics. One, I am. I know. But one, first and foremost, favorite kill in the movie. For me, it's that cop at the end, even though you didn't get to see all of it, or the woman in the art gallery getting her throat just absolutely eviscerated.
Yeah.
Justin?
I got the whole art gallery. I think that was,
I
mean, I'm with you when it came to making me feel personally gratified, the cop, because like I said, my brother's a cop. I have much respect for good police officers, but to watch a bad one get taken down, nothing better.
Yeah.
But when it came to the visuals, the art gallery for sure. And I want to let you know, Scatterbrain, we are going to talk about that scene. Give us a second. But absolutely, visually, the art gallery, by the way it made me feel, 100% that police officer.
Yeah, that was Wes. That's one of the 3 topics I want to touch on. So, Justin, favorite kill?
Favorite kill for me. Again, probably because the way it was lit and directed the art gallery scene. But I agree with Ken. I'm glad that guy at the end, piece of crap, I'm not going to cuss, died. I needed to die. But the art gallery scene, I just like the way it was lit, and it was kind of eerie, like the way you see Candyman in the mirror, and he's like cutting open that what do you want to call it? Picture, not picture, but
The projector screen.
Yeah,
Projector screen.
Yeah, I loved it.
That scene was creepy.
And I
It
agree,
was.
Sarah. The art critic's death was great, but towards the end of it got really CG for me. Like you could tell it started practically, and then they used computer enhancement towards the end when the way her legs were flopping just didn't look natural. So it's a great death, and you feel for her because he's like, now's the perfect time, and she's gonna do it. But the end of it looked so CG to me that I couldn't include it as my favorite.
Yeah. So the next topic is the one that Wes is talking about. The scene with Vanessa Williams and Yaya, mother and son, was absolutely heartbreaking when he's starting to get it. And he asks her a question, and it's not even like, was I the baby? And she goes, at first I thought she was the one that took you. And he just breaks down, and he's like, I knew it had to fucking be me. Like, this stuff is happening to me for a reason. And I loved that scene. And I everything about it, from her saying, nope, don't say that. We don't say that. Yeah. And her saying him, only referring to him as him. And just the genuine heartbreak you can feel for both of them. She is so sad for her son because she knows what's going to happen. And she says, someone let him out. Someone didn't follow the rules. And she knows she doesn't want him to walk out that door because she knows what's going to happen to her son. And it was heartbreaking. But Justin, what'd you think of that scene?
I love that scene. Like you said, it was so heartbreaking. And, we only had Vanessa Williams and Marie in one scene, but it was such a great scene. It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I would have loved to have seen her a little bit more, but that one scene is so good. I love the fact that she also tells her son, like you said, she said at first she thought Helen took her son. She thought Helen was doing all this stuff. But at the end of that, during that scene, I love the fact that she says, Helen was a hero. She saved you. And I love that. I love that because in this movie, Helen's story and the legend of her herself, people were saying that she went crazy and she did this stuff and snapped pretty much. And I love the fact that Anne Marie tells her son, Helen was a hero. She saved you. Mm-hmm. So I love that. I love the scene. It was such a great scene.
What about you, Ken?
I'm going to completely agree with you guys. I wish I wouldn't have known it was him the whole time. I wish I could have went into that blind and got hit with that. But obviously we all knew that was the case. But you're right. They perverted Helen's story at the beginning. And you're like, no, nobody knows, and then she tells that story. Like you said, when she's like, we don't say that name here. And when she tells that story and they both start crying because he's like, you told me I was born on the South Side. What's going on? And that's when she just breaks down, and it's one of those things where it hurts you to your core. Like me personally, I lost my mother. So as you're watching this film and he has almost this avoidance with his mother, they don't talk about it. But I think what it is she was so overprotective of him growing up that it kind of pushed him away from her, and he never understood why until that moment. And that's when he broke. That's why you've always been the way you have been with me. That's why you've always been a shadow over me, and I never knew why, and you didn't want to tell me why because you wanted that name to die.
And that's why I was okay with Vanessa Williams only being in that one scene, because that one scene was so important to the movie and it was so emotional. I didn't need any more of her. I got everything I needed from her in that story. I mean, in that scene. That's all we needed from Vanessa Williams. She told him that Helen was a hero. She told him who he really was. And she just let it out to him how much she loves him, and she's afraid for him, and she wants to be there for him. That's all I needed. What
No.
what more do we need from Vanessa Williams in the story? You don't need anything more from her. You got everything you needed in that scene.
Well, I was going to say, Nick, I'm not complaining that she's not in the movie that much. I'm just saying she's so good in the movie that if they put more of her in the movie, I would have been happy with it.
Yes, yeah, no, I know what you're
Let me
saying.
ask
I'm
you
just
guys
saying,
this.
like, yeah, what's up?
If they make a sequel, do you see her saying Candyman in the mirror to see Anthony again?
I'd love to see it. I would love to see her in a sequel to basically be the person to try to summon Candyman to get answers, to get revenge, to whatever it may be, to want to face Daniel Robitaille because he finally, after 30 years, got her baby. And
Yeah.
I know that is, I would love to see that arc with her. But Sarah, go ahead, Justin.
Well, no, I was real quick. I was just going to ask her, are we going to talk about Helen? Because I really want to talk about her. Really want to talk about her a little bit.
What's up?
No, I want to talk about, are we going to get to Helen? Because I have things to say about Helen and kind of her, even though she's not in the movie, I want to talk about some of Helen. I wasn't sure if we were going to mention her.
Well, I had one more topic that I wanted to address, but you can throw it in after that.
Okay.
The last topic that I had on my mind that I want to address is what Sarah asked, the body horror. Let me just tell you something. The deterioration of Anthony throughout this movie was disgusting. The practical effects were fantastic. And watching his physical and mental descent into madness was one of the best things about the movie, truly. And at one point, my fiance turns to me and goes, I wonder what's going on with his hand. And I said, I know exactly what's going on with his hand. It's foreshadowing about the hook. I knew what was going on. And it ended up being so disgusting. And it looked great, and it was fantastic. But what do you guys think of the body horror?
Do you want to go first, Ken?
No, you can go ahead, Justin. I'll say mine.
Yeah, I was the same way. My heart was broken for Anthony because this is happening to him. And when you get to that scene where his hand's being cut off, it was disgusting. Like I was like, wow. But no, yeah, the body horror. I thought it was unique that you got to see that development happen, and you just saw just Anthony slowly but surely becoming, this person that we saw at the end of the movie in the church. So,
yeah. What about you?
It really reminded me of one of my favorite horror films of all time, which is American Werewolf in London. How with Jack, you see him physically deteriorating as David is mentally deteriorating. And I feel like that's what this was a representation of. It's you're physically watching him mentally deteriorate. And that's when it's done right, like it was in American Werewolf in London and like it did here. It was awesome. I thought it was great. On the subject of the body horror in the church, to me, that's the lowest point of this whole movie is the church scene. And look, I get it. I get why the laundromat, I can't think of his name. He watched his sister die when he was a kid, and nobody believed him that it was Candyman. And now he's saying, I got a witness. They'll know that I wasn't lying. I get it. But it was just, to me, was a lazy, really bad twist to the end of the movie. They were trying so hard to create another villain that you didn't have to create. You already have a perfect one.
Well, I'm going to say something about that because for me, I was with you, like it almost like they just shifted a 180. Like they didn't really give us a in between thing that happens between that character, which I think again, give this movie an extra 10 more minutes or 15 minutes and explain that better, and I would have been happy. I think Scatterbrains West said, what was our critique about the movie, and it's the little things in the story. It's not explaining things.
It's the ending. It's the finale. It's the very ending is great. the complete juxtaposition from story building to complete batshit crazy with nothing in between there was the problem. I needed 10 to 15 more minutes of exposition before we got to that. Because you're trying to sell me on Burke making this 180 without giving me any exposition on that.
Yeah.
And it's just very hard to grasp. I'm very, what?
I know. That's where add extra 10, 15 more minutes in that ending, explain it better, and I would have been like, okay, I get it. But it was like a 180 thing. Like it just went from one thing to another. Sarah said The Fly. Like I agree with American Werewolf in London, but I also see The Fly and how like Jeff Goldblum's character was developing.
The fingernail scene alone was very Fly-esque.
Gross.
Like that was fucking gross. Like
it was gross.
So gross.
It was gross. But really quick, Justin, I want to give just what was it that you wanted to touch on about Helen?
We didn't really, I think thinking about it, it's not a disappointment at all. But at first I was like, I wish we would have got to see Helen, because originally, if you go back and watch the first trailer in that church scene, you see Helen sitting like below a window. You see her there. So I wish, I don't want to make this a complaint, but I wish we would have been able to see her presence somewhere in this. But
yeah, I think Ken agrees. I think we both agree with that, to have her presence a little bit. Yeah.
But I will say this, even though we didn't get to see her spirit or her presence, I love the fact that Helen was part of the story somehow.
Yeah, she was fun.
Yes, and I love the fact that Virginia Madsen came back. Even though we didn't get to see Virginia, we did get to see some voiceover work with her. And I was like, well, there we go. I love that. Like, I was happy because I love Virginia Madsen. And I love the character Helen.
I agree, Quincy Brown. I do believe there's going to be deleted scenes on that Blu-ray that I'm excited to see, because maybe some of them should have made it in the movie. But like Ken said, yes, it was similar to Sartain, but at least this guy had a reason that wasn't totally insane. Sartain was like, what the fuck? Whereas this one was like, I get it, but you didn't give me enough time and exposition for me to really see it come to fruition. Yeah. So
I audibly groaned in the theater when Dr. Sartain put on the fucking Michael Myers mask. Sarah, it's in Halloween 2018. When Dr. Sartain was the doctor with Michael Myers and he bends down and puts a stupid mask. That was so weak. Weakest part of that film. Just like I feel like Burke was the weakest part of this film. I feel like that was an unnecessary twist that you didn't need to do.
Dr. Sartain was like, I didn't like the twist of Dr. Sartain. Did not like it. That was just like, I don't know. All right. We talked about that before. We don't need to talk about Dr. Sartain.
I wanted to.
You got a pretty important announcement.
Yeah. I want to say to everybody, first off, I apologize if this didn't go as long as we would have liked it to. I had promised this to you guys for weeks. We all three had. We were going to make this work come hell or high water. We've given our thoughts on the movie. Justin and I loved it. Ken was, I would think, the way I would sum it up is he didn't hate it, but he was disappointed, but he didn't walk away thinking the movie was a piece of garbage, and he's willing to see more of it. Would I say that's right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it could have been better.
Yes. And I can definitely see some of your critiques, and I respect them. And we all three here respect each other's opinions. And so, I wanted to say really quick, guys, the reason I'm cutting this shorter, I'm going to be on a little bit of a hiatus for a few days. Is this really the forum to talk about this? I mean, it is, because you guys expect content, on certain days every week, and you guys follow along, and I appreciate the hell out of that. As you know, my brother-in-law, Ryan, had been battling COVID. He passed away this weekend due to COVID, and his visitation and funeral service are tomorrow and Tuesday. So we will not be doing a Monday show tomorrow because I will be in Tennessee for the service, and then we will not be doing a watch along on Tuesday. because I will also be there for the service is Tuesday, the visitation is Monday. So I'm sorry that we're taking a week off. It's just Monday and Tuesday. I should hopefully, I feel up to it to come back this weekend and do something. If not, we will reconvene next week like we normally do. Spend some time with the family over the next couple days and kind of get all this craziness sorted out. I just want to say, live right here to everyone, I really appreciate the friendship that Justin and Ken have, provided to me and been willing to talk to me and be there for me and understand. It means a lot. I was not going to pull the rug out from under you guys last minute and not do this. And so fake it till you make it, I guess. I think I did a pretty good job. But yeah, so I just wanted to let everybody know that, just so you know where I'll be.
I was to say this, dude. Ken agrees. Everyone in the chat agrees. We love you so much. And if you need to take a week off, dude, take a week off with the family. YouTube and everybody here will be back. We'll be here when you come back.
There are way more important things in this life than YouTube, man. And you know that we're all here for you. We love you. Take all the time you need. And when you come back, we're going to be waiting for you with open arms. Like I told you before we started the chat, you got my number. We're all here for you. Everybody in the chat right now, thank you so much, because Nick's one of my good friends. And, I can't imagine the heartbreak that he is going through right now. And to still come and do this to try to entertain you guys. You're a good man. And I have nothing but love and respect for you and your family, and you guys will be in my prayers. And if you guys don't believe in the prayer thing, send positive vibes, whatever it is you do, as long as it's positive Nick and his family's way, we're all here for you, buddy. Cheers to you.
Love, prayers, positive vibes to you and your family, Nick.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, guys. That means a lot. And I didn't want this to be as short as it was. It was an hour, and I feel like we touched on pretty much every big thing that we wanted to talk about with this movie. We don't plan for these things to happen, and they suck. But to everybody that's watching, be safe, be healthy, be smart, take care of yourselves.
Hug and kiss the people you love. Make sure everybody you love in your life knows it.
Yeah,
and I don't want
to. Fuck. My mom just woke up. My mom didn't wake up, man. 50 years old, had a heart attack in her sleep. If you have someone in your life that you love, make sure they know it, because shit like this happens, guys. Like I said, I am Ken Sledge. I am not Sledgehammer Horror. Sledgehammer Horror is what I love. It's what I do, but it's not who I am. Nick is Nick. He is not the Lost River Drive-In. Justin is Justin. He is not Ryan 1988. We love these things so much, and we give everything we have in our body to these things because we want you guys to enjoy it. We there's nothing we love more, and I can tell you this, and I can speak for Nick and Justin because I know when we look at our YouTube studio 18 times a day and see that we've gained one new subscriber, the feeling we get is amazing. When I look at my videos and I see I got a thumbs up or a comment from somebody, that feeling I get still is just so overwhelming. And those things are so special to us. I promise you that. I promise you they mean so much to us. But nothing is more important than family and the people that you love. So if you have someone in your life that you love, just for the love of God, make sure that they know it. Because you don't know if you'll be able to tell them tomorrow that you do. So if you have someone in your life that you love, kiss them, hug them, send them a text, give them a phone call. Let them hear your fucking voice. I love you. I just want you to know I love you. Like, it's so important, guys, because my mom was my best friend. I can't tell her anymore. And I would literally give anything to do so. So if you have someone in your life, please just tell them you love them. It's really not that big of a deal. Just say, hey, I love you and I'm here.
And cherish your life, because, you never know when your last, I don't want to be morbid, and I'm not trying to be, but you never know when your last day is going to be. So you need to cherish your life. Cherish the people around you. Cherish your loved ones. Cherish your friends. I cherish you two so much. I love you both.
We talk every day, guys. I don't think you guys understand this. We talk every day. And before we go, because I know Nick's got to go, I just want to say one last thing. You have maybe 100 years on this planet. Be happy. do what you got to do to be happy, guys, because you don't know, like Justin just said, you don't know how long you have. You have maybe 100 years. And in the grand scheme of things, you don't have that long. All you got to do is make sure you're happy and love the people around you.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you to you guys. I love all you guys. I'll keep you updated. Don't worry. I'm not going away. Just give me a few days with the family.
Take a
We'll
week.
be back to our regular scheduled programming next week. And I love every single one of you guys. Leave a like if you haven't already. Justin and Ken, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you for being willing to talk about this. And most importantly, to everyone, no matter what, go see Candyman. Support horror. Support the filmmaking industry. Support. Just go out there, form your own opinion, and just go see it, man. Go see it. It deserves to be seen. Rudy, I thank you so much, buddy. I really do. That means a lot to know that you guys care as much as you do. I really appreciate that. Rudy, always love all the time to you, buddy. To all you guys. I'll see you all in a few days. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. And again, tell the people that you love them. And this is Nick, Ken, and Justin.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.